Hello everyone. Welcome to this webinar in partnership with the Amity Institute of Training and Development. My name is Paul Bloemendaal and I am the CEO of Bradby Private Limited, a boutique commodity consultancy firm specialized in enterprise risk management and strategic reframing. I grew up in the Netherlands and I attended the University of Amsterdam, where I pursued my master's degree in business economics with a specialty focus on strategy, marketing and organizational change. During my studies, I interned in London and Hong Kong before starting my career in commodity trading with Cargill. Initially as Loracol trader, but later as supply chain manager for their edible oil factories all over Europe. In 2006, I decided to move back to where the growth in action was, Asia, with a new home base in Singapore. Noble Group, now Cofco Agri, offered me the role to manage their Asian edible oils business that included various regional trading desks and the physical assets in China, Indonesia and India. A few years in, I was promoted to run their global edible oils business. In 2011, I wanted to learn more about structured risk management, so I joined Citibank to set up their APAC commodity risk management franchise. In 2013, Ruchi Soya in India approached me to lead their commercial trading teams and their research efforts. I happily joined them in Mumbai for a fantastic 3 years that gave me exposure to all aspects of the commodity trade, from emerging markets to political challenges in an environment for basic staples, from farm to table with all the risk and opportunities in between. In 2016 I came back to Singapore, this time as OTC risk management provider for Finex and later Arcadia. That eventually resulted in my current company, Bradby Private Limited. Here I work with a range of companies focusing on commodities, enterprise risk management and strategic transformation. I have attended executive education programs at Oxford Site, Columbia University and most recently with INSEAD on their advanced management program that teaches strategic, high performance and self-aware leadership skills. And this brings me to the topic of the day, dealing with uncertainty. How can we lead during this time of crisis? I am grateful to have been invited by the Amity Institute for Training and Development to share my views and visions and sincerely hope that my contribution helps to raise a lot of funds for those in need so that we can support the NGOs in these extremely challenging times. If you have any questions for me throughout the webinar, I will try to get back to you during the Q&A at the end. Alternatively, you can contact me directly afterwards via my website bradby.net. Today I will talk about how to lead our teams during times of crisis and how to manage our network when surrounded by massive uncertainty like we are currently experiencing with the COVID-19 pandemic. I will not be commenting on health statistics, the timing of a vaccine, the way politicians acted or other pandemic-specific topics, as that will be better left to the medical professionals who've been doing an amazing job trying to save the world as we know it. I will present some building blocks and supporting anchors for you to consider, to use in your own personal and corporate situation. Do use these as nudges and not as firm needs, as everybody has to adjust them to be useful for their own unique and specific set of challenges. And with these guidelines, hopefully you can reconstruct your own foundations and be ready for the future post-COVID-19. At the same time, we should all get aligned to help others who are less fortunate than we are, as we show our support by donating funds and knowledge to those in need. I have been working in commodity trading and enterprise risk management for over 16 years, here in Singapore, but also in London, Hong Kong and Mumbai. Bradby helps companies with their strategic reframing, meaning we assist them to prepare for situations like the current, although I gotta be honest, I didn't see this one coming. The world is on fire and we need all hands on deck. Companies and governments should have their scenarios ready for any type of challenge that might come your way. In my career, I have encountered many different challenging situations, from cargo vessels that were taken hostage in the Gulf of Aden, to political blockages in terms of payments from Iran, to import duty changes on food products into India and China. In my experience, these type of issues come fast, hard and are very tough to predict. Still, they are part of our lives as business people, and thus we have to be ready for it. Risk is what we deal in, so risk is what we need to manage. Situations like the current not only have an effect on us as leaders, but also a profound impact on us as people. How do we handle this? What do we do? When do we act to really show our commitment and added value? Don't forget, leadership is a responsibility, not just merely a title that is handed over. So ask yourself, who am I as a leader? To me, these deeply personal ones are the crucial questions to work with in these times of crisis. And at the same time, they are the most underestimated ones in times when things go smooth and normal. We should have done it before, but it's not too late to plan ahead and be ready. I will talk about how to get ready before a problem arrives, but also when trouble, like now with COVID-19, is already actively changing the world around us. All with a goal to keep organizations in play and thus capable to remain, retain, and assist others around them. This is the planning for this webinar. Basically, the what and why I'm going to be talking about in 4 consecutive parts. Contingency planning versus scenario planning to start off with. The what and why I should use scenarios. Newly discovered dysfunctions in this work from home time. What are the effects of the current situation that we were forced into? Keep your people learning. How to keep your staff and yourself adaptable to change. And finally, a brief blueprint for COVID crisis management, coming from a range of top-tier consultancy sources that have shared their views on this over the last few weeks. First, let's talk about leadership planning in times of crisis. One of the main tools that I use when engaging with companies is developed by the University of Oxford site called Strategic Reframing. It uses 4 main questions to be considered and discussed. Who will use the results? What purpose will the scenario planning serve? When and how will this scenario planning be used and how will it be valued? And how suitable is it in this unique situation around COVID-19? Now let's take this into consideration to the current pandemic. It brings core questions to mind that are very hard to answer at this point, but that should be discussed within all organizations. How protracted will the uncertainty over the pandemic situation be? So how long will it last? Will it be a recurring issue? Could it come back with new strains starting the lockdowns all over again? And what if the uncertainty lasts more than 3 to 6 months? Will the economy and the way we are used to living exist as it has? Will politics permanently change to more local over global? What will be the post-crisis process? Spurts and starts? Continuous and orderly? A continuous mess till a new normal is in place? What long-term spillovers might the pandemic unleash? Think about world order, migration, inequality, tax burdens, etc. And what will be the permanent change? Do we keep working from home? Will people stop flying in busy planes but prefer to use their own cars instead? And what will happen with trade flows and logistics? What will happen with globalization or the view on large organizations like the WHO, UN and NATO, etc.? What current global issues will come back, like global warming, and what will be less important? All this is impossible to answer in 15 minutes, but I'm happy to discuss this with you in the future. Now let's put this into a strategic frame. What should we be careful of when trying to forecast and when setting our scenarios? The biggest is a viewpoint risk. Try not to confuse contingency planning versus scenario planning. What I mean here is that normal risk planning is one, but strategic reframing and scenario planning is exploring deep potential changes for the future. Anchoring. Be careful not to put your own views and visions too much as a fixation point. Don't think too much about now. Think about 6 months or 12 months out to give space to think about other broader issues in relation to the pandemic. Consider the plausibility. Normal risk is around probability management, while scenarios are about plausibility, because they deal with massive uncertainty. What can really be a worst, base, or best case scenario outcome? Shorten your scenario time horizons. Scenario planning tends to think too long term. These days, with the COVID-19 situation, it should be more nimble. So what decisions do you need to make now? Not the normal 5 to 10 years, but during a pandemic, think about 5 to 10 months instead. And what will the actions that I take now mean to the company in a few months and in a few different scenarios? Plan online instead of offline. And with this I mean more often, shorter time framed, more active, and with different approaches than what you would normally would. With more iterations, scenarios often stay in place for years. Think about, for example, the Shell, iceberg and mountain scenarios. But now they will have to be adjusted almost monthly. In the next part of this webinar, I will move my focus to the more personal part of the current COVID-19 crisis and touch on a brand new experience for most of us. Working from home. A never-before experiment rolled out globally and almost instantly that without doubt will change the employment landscape forever. Historically, and definitely in this part of the world, employment was done at work. But that has now changed with all the pros and cons against it. Fortunately, many of us, and this event is proof of it, were able to adjust relatively easily. Research by INSEAD in April showed that productivity in over 77% from the people interviewed had improved or at least not decreased. But what really changed for us, besides the location? The boss is now at home, your colleagues are at home, often, at least here in Singapore, your family is working and learning from home, but overview control, both socially and professionally, has all become remote. Work is an activity, not a place, is what we use these days. Still, there are some hidden dysfunctions becoming clear that we should consider and where possible address or tackle. Merging work and life into one place, one time zone, and one basket of responsibilities brings in some unexpected dysfunctions that are shown in this sheet. Work-life boundaries, teamwork, the everlasting Zoom, Team and Hangout calls, the lack of good information sharing platforms, the lack of trust in what your colleagues are doing all day, and the ease to be distracted. And trust me, as yes, I have 2 kids and a Nintendo Switch at home, so don't even get me started. Fortunately, I think we will all conquer these issues and just get to it. Let's keep on adapting, as never before has digitization been this fast as what we have seen in the last 3 months. The third part of this presentation is something that is now more crucial than ever, but also most at risk of being forgotten. Prepare and train your adaptability to change, and thus to accept and counter the current or basically any situation. Most companies will have in normal times some form of education or development program in place, but with everybody working from home, this will likely be one of the first projects to be cut. And that is a shame, as visiting factories, visiting colleagues, being socially active or attending conferences, working within executive management programs to expand networks and to develop your own leadership skills are all crucial parts of our daily life and our professional development needs. All these are currently blocked or on hold, but fortunately, lots of universities are nowadays offering free advanced educational programs online. They're offering mindfulness to keep your sanity up, launching platforms to co-create ideas and to work them out. Even virtual travel can be experienced these days from the comfort of your own couch. Make sure to use these tools and to keep on going out, even as COVID is keeping us locked indoors for the great reason to save lives. So let's not get down and depressed due to the current situation, but we should all keep enjoying the good things in life, as there is always something positive on the road ahead. The last part of this presentation is the more formal part and really hits the topic of the conference today. Dealing with uncertainty, how can we lead during this time of crisis? Or better, how do we come out of the present scenario with an innovative and futuristic view that can have a positive turnaround effect on individual lives and businesses for the future? To answer this, I personally like the INSEAD template of the 5 E's a lot, as is shown on this page. So how does it work? And how can I use this as a blueprint for COVID crisis management for my own organization? Engage. The first of the 5 E's is engage. And what I mean here is that we should always try to give people what they need when they need it. The information need of your employees and partners evolves in a crisis, so a good communicator's messaging should evolve as well. Different forms of information can help listeners to feel safe, cope mentally, and connect to a deeper sense of purpose and stability. Explore. The current situation is completely new. No one has been here before, so try to communicate clearly, simply, and frequently. A crisis limits people's capacity to absorb information in the early days. Focus on keeping listeners safe and healthy. Then, repeat, repeat, repeat. And people tend to pay more attention to positively framed information. Negative information can erode trust. So frame instructions as do's, best practices or benefits, rather than don'ts, what people shouldn't do, or debunking myths. Explain. I would pick candor over charisma. Trust is never more important than in a crisis, so be honest about where things stand, and don't be afraid to show vulnerability, because you are a person as well. Maintain transparency to build loyalty and lead more effectively. Focus on facts without sugarcoating. Differentiate clearly between what is known and unknown, and don't minimize or speculate. Involve your audiences in decision making. We've seen it around the world in the last few months. The leaders with the clearest message are respected the most and have shown the best results. And not surprisingly, most of them were female. The fourth part is execute. At some point we can't plan anymore and we need to act quickly to revitalize resilience. As the health crisis changes into an economic crisis, accentuate the positives and strengthen communal bonds to restore confidence. So celebrate these positives to help people and build a community. Finally, evaluate and distill meaning from the chaos. This crisis will end. Help people make sense of all that has happened. Establish a clear vision or mantra for how the organization and its people will emerge afterwards, and learn from it. None of these points, though, can be fully implemented by just one individual leader. It is all about working together. Even though we are apart, as most, if not all of us have been for months now, we are not alone. Teamwork is an effort, but it is worth it. These days we get more time with the family, while we are no less effective, and in the long run, we might find the positives that came out of this experience. So remain vigilant, stay healthy and be safe. Now to move this webinar to a positive note. Fortunately, it does not look like the whole world is coming to an end, and hopefully it is just a very sad situation that we will conquer within a foreseeable time frame. With the right positive mindset and planning, we can all use our network, our experience, and our creativity to find a solution for any challenge, pandemic or else. We will overcome and we will find our balance back. And once we have our balance back, we should review what happened to us. This can be bad, but hopefully there are also things that we can be grateful for. To me, I am grateful for the fact that we can all work together, globally, as one. Events like today are a symbol of unity, so stay strong and let's get ready for the future. Now to conclude this session, let's recap what we discussed. It is not too late to refocus and be ready for the post-COVID future, but it will take significant efforts from all of us as leaders to set the right direction. We should have to make sure to pick the right set of stairs, the one that is going up. No matter what, we will pass this crisis and we will be victorious over the virus. There is no doubt about it. So in the end, like Duncan MacLeod used to say in the 1990s TV series The Highlander, there can be only one, and that's us, as one large cooperative global community. And with these thoughts, I would like to end my message today. As we might have some time for 1 or 2 questions, depending on the moderator. If that's approved, please feel free to shout out, and if not, have a great day ahead.